Examine this topology. Who is the root bridge? It's switch X. We can see that right there. It's listed. That means every other switch in that VLAN, in the broadcast domain, is going to be a non-root bridge. It's not the root bridge. So the name fits here. But now, root ports have to be determined. Designated ports have to be determined within this topology. These interfaces need labels. That's what these interfaces need. Because in order for the tree to be built and for the non-designated port, the blocked port to be determined, the other ports have to be appropriately defined as those root ports or designated ports, and they would be in the forwarding state. Forwarding frames, receiving frames, whereas that block port is doing neither. So how are these designated ports and root ports determined? It's all based on a cost system. What is the cost to get to the root bridge? That's what it's all about. Cost, as we see here, is identified through the IEEE standards. A 10 gig link has a cost of 2. A 1 gig link has a cost of 4, a 100 meg link is a cost of 19, and a 10 meg link is a cost of 100. So as you're examining a topology, you would have to know the costs of the links. For example, the topology might say, this is a 10 gig link. This is a 100 meg link. So you would know based on this chart or through memorization that we're dealing with a cost of 2 and a cost of 19. And then from there, you can determine the spanning tree topology. They could just simply give you the costs, as I have done right here. 2 and 100. Or you don't receive anything. If you don't receive anything, what are the costs? Well, the costs are whatever you want it to be. Because in reality, if you don't know interface speeds and you don't have a cost value, that means everything is equal. That's the way I want you to think about it. If you are missing information such as interface speed or cost, you assume that the costs are all equal, and you could essentially in the topology just say, well, that would be a cost of 1 and that's a cost of 1, and you're okay to go. Just keep that in mind. It's a little trick to make it easier on you. But if you have access to the devices, for example, if you could type in show commands on X or Y, then you could type in show IP interface brief and realize that maybe this is a 1 gig link here, and this is a 100 megabits per second here, and then you would know that it's a cost of 4.19. So I would recommend that you memorize these values so you know them if you're ever trying to troubleshoot in the real world or potentially answer exam questions. Keep that in mind. So cost is going to come into play, and you need to be able to identify those costs, and remember that cost is cumulative. Always remember that. So if there are more switches in the topology, let's say there's a switch here, and they're connected up this way, and these links have costs of 19 and costs of, let's say, 100, then the cost to go from this switch here all the way to the root bridge over here is going to be 100 plus 19 plus 4 for a grand total of 123. That would be the root cost to reach the root bridge.